Alright, so today I'm going to go over a refactor I did for one of our levels. We had a bunch of gameplay logic nestled into our feedback system, which made it hard to not only debug, but also track and update cleanly. And our feedback system should primarily be used for audio or a screen shake effect, but really it's considered abuse to use it to enable disable things that are related to like the state of the level. I think it's great for prototyping, but I think for like a final production ready thing, we should move it over to a script. And I think there are elegant solutions for this. Like, I think visual scripting could also play a role here, where you can chain together like very specific room events. But for this, I'm using a script. Like C# scripting is not hard in Unity, and honestly, I think it is really good for this type of thing. So, what we used to do in this scene is on the fire barrel, which is acting as our bomb, and for some reason I can't click the scene tab. Okay. There we go. This object acts like a bomb, and when we blow it up, it shakes the screen, simulating that there's an earthquake. And then we update the level, right? So what we do in the tunnel room is we turn off this grid, and we turn on this one. And you can see there's like pile of rubbish, and then we turn on hazards, and then we also we have a different checkpoint that we turn on because the other one turns off. So we're updating the state of this room when this bomb goes off, and we used to do all of that inside of the death feedback, which if you don't know much about this system, it would be hard to find. So the death feedbacks are nestled into the hierarchy underneath the barrel. And right here you'll see we're instantiating we have like a fire emitter which throws out 12 bullets. We have a small explosion, and then we have a shake. And everything you see here is related to this barrel. It's self-contained as it should be, and it's more of a feedback than, let's say updating the state of a room like the tunnel we saw, which is a separate object, not even in the same room as this barrel. So all of that's been removed. There was like 15, almost 15 feedbacks here doing various things. And it's all been moved to a script that controls the events that happen in this level. So at the very bottom here, we have a script called Sludge Haven Controller. And like I mentioned earlier, I think you could use like a scripting language or like a visual scripting system to mock this out and customize it. But the C# stuff is not that hard when you're just turning on and off things based on events. So I took this approach. It's clean, easy to read. And the idea here is this component houses all of the references, all of the state that we need to track in order to change these rooms based on events that happen. And I could divide this among multiple components and make it super reusable, but then we're back to the same problem as the feedback, where we have like maybe 15 components scattered across the scene that control like the global state of things. And there is global state here. Like, we're changing data between rooms. So it just makes sense to have this sit at the top level where you can just see all of it in one place, which makes it really easy to modify and look through, right? And we are reusing code, so it's not like we're just like we have a monolith class here. We're actually breaking things up into reusable components. So when I say component, I'm not talking about a Unity component. I'm talking about a function or a data structure. So we have this death event data, which we can obviously reuse. It just gives us various references So like when this health object dies, we can disable a collection of objects, enable a collection of objects, or disable a collection of behaviors. This is what I needed to get this up and running. And you can see that's all been configured in this inspector for this barrel. So when this barrel dies, these are the objects we disable, enable, and disable. And then we have our health event here where we are hooking that up, and we are turning on and off objects. And we're also recording the state of the room. So we have the ability to say, hey, when this blows up, record the state of the room. So the room reset script allows us to do that. So this is an important event, so let's save the state. And then, which honestly, maybe this should be at the bottom, just so that if anything does get turned off, an update, we can track that more accurately. And then we do something very similar for the room reset for the boss. So in the room, I didn't show this yet, but in the room we do have a dialogue object. So there is this dialogue zone that you can walk through. And when you're done walking through the dialogue zone, we actually disable it. So you can see here, disable after use. And our reset system essentially tells the boss to spawn back in with full health, etc., enter its default state when you die and respawn. So we want this to turn back on. And so what this does is it does exactly that. It checks to see, like, hey, is the boss greater than 0? And if so, enable the zone. And perhaps like this can be packaged into something reusable across multiple bosses. I say when we get to that point, we can refactor this or make this a reusable function. But in general, I think this isn't a bad approach. It gives us a lot of flexibility, and it's not that much code anyway. So yeah, that's the new approach I'm taking with some of these more specific actions. We do have some validate functionality that just makes sure that these things are hooked up correctly. So I did make a new function that we reused across these 3 collections. So you can see here that we're actually checking to see if the collection contains valid references. So if anything ever gets deleted or unhooked, we will be notified in the unit test when it runs over the scene and tries to initialize it. And validate is called on awake, so the test will cover that. Yeah, I think that covers it. Like I said, this is a starting point. We could refactor this if we need to reuse the logic, but like I said, it's not rocket science, so I didn't think we needed to make elaborate systems for this. Yeah, that was my update.